Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. Now in this video, I want to discuss about AWS Step Functions. Now, as you may know, AWS Step Function is the managed workflow service offered by AWS. Now this is one of the very popular service in AWS, particularly when you want to handle your workflows and orchestrates your workflows, so on and so forth. Now there are two flavors to it. We have the standard workflows and express workflows. Now in this video, let's see how can we use these two types of workflow modes, and we'll also discuss about other services that can easily work with AWS Step Functions. Now before we get started, let's have a look at the overview about these two types. Now when it comes to standard workflows, a standard workflow can run up to a year. So this is one of the major advantages. So this essentially means you can start a step function workflow today, and the standard workflow can run up to 365 days from now. So during that time, you can wait for certain things to happen, and if something happens, you can proceed to the next steps in your standard workflow. But however, when it comes to cost aspects, it's one of the comparatively expensive service, I would say, in AWS. Because this cost is based on the state transitions, particularly in the standard workflow. So let's imagine your workflow contain 1000 steps. So in that case, there would be 1000 state transitions and you'll be charged $0.025. So when this runs at scale, the cost is going to be a considerable number. But however, you're not getting charged for waiting time. I mentioned that you can wait for some events to happen before proceeding. So that waiting time, it could be hours, days, months, that is free. And the another good thing is, step function standard workflow guarantees there will only be an exactly one execution. So you will probably not need a idempotency table if you're using standard workflow. And next, we also have this wait for task token feature available for a step function standard workflow. So what does this mean? Let's imagine now our step function standard workflow need to put a message into SQS queue and wait until this message is processed by another consumer. Let's say it could be a Lambda function and so on. And once this is processed, then it only have to continue with, to the next step. So in this case, we can use this wait for task token feature. So there, step function workflow will include a task token in the message that will enqueue into the SQS queue. And once the Lambda processes it, Lambda will use the task token to send a signal to step function standard workflow. Okay, I'm done, whether it's successful or not. Then you can handle that success or failure accordingly by transitioning to the next step. Okay, that's step function standard workflow. When it comes to the express workflows, the maximum duration that it can run is up to 5 minutes. You can't run more than that. So this is not good for any workflows that takes more time than 5 minutes. When it comes to pricing also, it's quite similar to Lambda pricing. So here, the pricing model is based on the execution time of this step function express workflow. It doesn't matter about how many state transitions or anything, but it depends on the execution time plus the memory consumption for that particular state workflow. So when it comes to memory consumption, it will look at the definition YAML file size. You know, in step function, we have to provide the definition in a YAML or JSON. So it will consider the size of that YAML or JSON file plus the input payload size. So these two contributes to the memory allocation for the express workflow. However, unlike in standard workflow where exactly once execution is guaranteed, here you can have duplicates. So it only guarantees at least once execution. So if you're using express workflows, you probably want to handle your idempotency. Probably you need to have a idempotency table that will check whether this request has been previously processed or not. And another benefit of express workflow is that it supports high throughput use cases. For example, let's say you get 1000 requests that needs to execute 1000 step function express workflows. It can immediately do that. And the upper limit is unlimited right now. Okay, so now that we understand the step function, standard and express workflow in high level, let's look at some of the architecture patterns that we can use with step function. So let's imagine you have an API. This could be user-facing API or an internal API. And this API will have a Lambda function, and this Lambda function will add messages to SQS queue. Now let's say you get so many requests from your users or from other systems, and this is a high volume. So what we'll do is we'll use a Lambda function to put all these high volume events or messages to SQS queue so we can process it accordingly. So when it comes to processing of messages, we can have a Lambda function as a consumer for this SQS queue, and this Lambda function can synchronously invoke a step function express workflow. So what do I mean by synchronous invocation? It means once the Lambda function start execution of the step function workflow, it will wait until all these steps completed in the step function workflow and return the final result to the Lambda. Once the Lambda got the result, it can put that into a DynamoDB table. So your user-facing or internal API can have another path configured to consume that result from DynamoDB also. Now in this type of architecture, there are a couple of things that you should be concerned about. One of the thing is the Lambda timeouts. Now since Lambda is waiting until this step function express workflow finishes, until such time the Lambda could timeout. You know, we have this 15 minutes timeout, the maximum timeout limit for Lambda. So you should make sure that the Lambda is not going to timeout until the step function workflow is in progress. Now in addition to that, let's say if you are consuming batch by batch in the Lambda function. So you get a batch of records, let's say 10 records in this Lambda function, and you have a for loop in here, and in the for loop you will call this step function express workflow and wait for the results. So in this case, the things should be more concerning because now we are processing a batch, right? So here the total amount of processing time for these 10 messages at the express workflow should not exceed the Lambda timeout. Alright, so let's see another way of doing this. Now this is a similar diagram, but the difference there is instead of calling this step function workflow synchronously, now we are calling asynchronously. Lambda is not waiting until the last result or the final response from the step function workflow is returned back to the Lambda. Instead, it will invoke the step function workflow asynchronously, get the acknowledgement from the step function, and it will continue to the next event, again call the step function workflow asynchronously, so on and so forth. So what sort of concerns that we have here? So once the step function workflow is started, it will do its processing. And finally, if it want to retain some results into a DynamoDB table or it will do it from the step function workflow itself and pass it in the database, and we can configure another path that will consume that final result so the users or another system can make use of this path to get the results. Now this is kind of a scalable flow. However, there are a couple of concerns here as well. Now, since Lambda is invoking these step function workflows asynchronously, we could have a bunch of step function executions running in parallel. In such a case, you should consider about whatever the third-party services that you are calling within the step function workflow. So if these APIs throughputs are limited, then there's a concern because these APIs will throw errors if they can't handle the load. So be careful about that. So one thing you can do is you can think about the batch size that you are invoking this Lambda function, as well as you need to set up some matrices at the step function workflow like success execution and failed execution. And based on these matrices, you can set up some alarms, and based on these alarms, you can probably disable this event source mapping at the SQS queue and Lambda level. So the Lambda will not consume new messages if your step function workflow started to throw errors. And then you can set up some circuit breakers, and so we can check the health of these third-party services. If they are healthy, you will re-enable this event source mapping. Okay, although I show SQS queue here, but it's not limited to SQS queue. You can have a Kinesis. So Kinesis also you can set the batch size, and in a similar process, because Kinesis, SQSQ, they all can use Lambda as a consumer with event source mapping. So you can do the same with Kinesis. Not only that, you can also use MSK, or the Amazon managed stream for Kafka as well. So you can push messages to a Kafka topic and have the same setup pretty much we discuss here. So next, let's think about how can we use standard workflows as well. Now, if you find out that your workflows needs to execute more than 5 minutes, that's a good indication you can think about standard workflows. But as I mentioned earlier, standard workflows charge you for state transitions. So if you have so many states and you are processing at scale, your cost could be increasing. Now, in order to lower the cost, you can follow a pattern like this. You can have a standard workflow as the parent workflow, and then you can have an express workflow, one or more, as children workflows. So with this, you can get the best of both worlds. You can use wait, which is free of charge for standard workflow. So you can wait up to 1 year. And also you can use the other features like wait for task token features. And at the time you are processing large number of steps, then you can invoke an express workflow from within the standard workflow. So this way you will reduce the number of state transition, but still again you will be able to use these wait and wait for task token features as well. So this is a common pattern that we see most people are using as well. So next, let's discuss about another pattern. So in this pattern, we are going to invoke a step function workflow directly from our user-facing or internal APIs. So we don't have a Lambda or SQS in between. What we can do here is we can use this service-to-service integration that is supported at the API gateway. So whenever users use your APIs or other systems use your APIs, you can have a service-to-service integration with step function workflow. Could be standard or express. Now for example, let's say that you have an express workflow. And in the express workflow, it's communicating with multiple APIs and doing some business processes. And after that, there's a response that you want to return to the user. And here you want to return it synchronously to the user. So what we can do is from API gateway, once we receive the user's event HTTP also, this API gateway will start the step function express workflow execution, and we are going to use start sync execution action. Now there are two main actions: start execution, which is kind of asynchronous action, and start sync execution, which is going to be a synchronous invocation. So when we use start sync execution, API gateway will wait until the result is returned to the user. So it's basically request response synchronous way. Now these type of patterns are also getting popular because particularly express workflows has similar pricing model to AWS Lambda. Now however, there's a one consideration. As you may know, there's a hard timeout limit at API gateway, which is 29 seconds. So although your express workflows can go up to 5 minutes, whenever it hits this 29 seconds, API gateway will throw an error. So you have to be particularly careful about that if you're using this pattern. Alright, so those are the patterns I want to discuss with you guys. I hope some of these patterns might be interesting to you. I'll see you in another video. Thanks.